Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Vante, and welcome back for another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Films. And today I have a very interesting topic to talk to you guys about. One that is very much the complete opposite of the episode we did last week, which is the 50 Shades trilogy. We're going to be talking about the indomitable human spirit representation in films, cinema, anime, everything today, because it's been stuck in my mind ever since probably like the beginning of summer until now, because there is just so many great representation of us as humans and humanity, and just like our insane like spirits and desire and want to do something, because if we want to do something we will get it. And basically this is gonna be an entire episode long that is about like 45 minutes, so basically 45 minutes long of glazing humans. Sounds really weird, but I'm very excited because it's something that I could quite literally write an essay about. There's so many good representation of humanity in films in general, but when it comes to human and so what is the phrase indomitable human spirit, right? Like that is such a, first of all, that phrase itself is such a good way of describing us as human beings, because we have desire, like I said, we have desires, we have wants, we have needs, and when we have one of those stuff, we would work anything in order to achieve that. And I think that's just so beautiful in terms of just what that is. It's so beautiful in terms of differentiating that between us and every other species out there. Because for example, like for me, I really love films. I love watching films, making them. So what do? I reach out for opportunities to be working with people who are in the same field. I'm here talking to you guys about films, and yeah, that's just like one of the very like simple example of what the human spirit is. But in terms of the more sort of extreme, intense side of the human spirit that is showcased a lot more in actions, thrillers, sci-fi films and media, is that we do not give up. Like we do not accept defeat. Like we don't sort of kneel, or we don't sort of bow towards any sort of higher power, especially if we're being oppressed and we're being like attacked by another like bigger, stronger, faster, like whatever force, right? Like in those alien movies, we as humans, because like I'm not saying as like we are in the films, but as humans we are being chased by xenomorph and everything. But what do? We don't just sit there and die. The characters in the film fought back and actually killed xenomorph and figure out ways to defeat that quote unquote higher power, because they are faster, they're stronger, they are ruthless beings that doesn't care, that doesn't listen to reason. They quite literally kill anything that is in front of them. So we figure out a way to sort of defeat that, which is kind of crazy when you think about how in so many of the alien movies you have aliens that are just so insanely powerful that, or just like in any film, the antagonist is just so strong and you're like, how the heck is the protagonist going to defeat that? And that's exactly what we're going to dive deeper today, especially in a lot of the recent media that I've watched. I've been seeing a pattern of the movies that I purposely choose to watch. So one of the more recent one that I would love to talk about, again, Demon Slayer. That is, okay, I know you guys, Demon Slayer again. We just have an episode about this? I know, but it's great. I think that Demon Slayer is such a good example of the indomitable human spirit, because first of all, we have two distinct side of the story. So one are the demons, obviously, and the second one is the Slayers. So the Slayers are normal human beings that have mastered this way of breathing that allowed them to strengthen their physical bodies and sort of increase their speed to in order for them to catch up to demons who are, first of all, they are basically immortal. The only thing that could kill them is the sun and this special source that Demon Slayer use. But they only have two weaknesses, and that is it. They don't get hurt because why? They regenerate. They eat human beings so that they regenerate. So basically, for example, like the higher rank demons, if you put like a normal human like in front of them, the human is guaranteed to die. Like you are not killing that. So that's where the demon slayers come in, right? Because they need to protect humans, like civilians, people who don't know that demons exist, people who don't know how to fight demons. And demon slayers is repeated throughout the entire franchise that these are still human beings. They are still human. It's just that their way of fighting enables them to move and fight in a way that is abnormally strong. And there are so many scenes when, for example, Tanjiro is fighting with another demon, and people joke about him having flashback and that give him strength, but that's the reality, because that's what being human is that we have motivations, we have something that keeps us going. And for Tanjiro, it was his family, the urge and this desire, this really, really big desire to avenge his family that was killed and murdered brutally. And that plays a lot into what it means to be a human, because right after he has any of those flashbacks, he immediately gets up on his feet. And no matter how many blows he takes, even if he's bleeding, he has several cuts around his body, he broken like multiple ribs and bones, it doesn't matter, because he is so angry and motivated. And so that is what makes us humans sort of so not dangerous per se, but I would say very, very could be considered as a threat, because we are so motivated by, for example, like Tanjiro, like our family, our friends, people that we hold dearly, and if something happens to them, I'm assure you, we are all going to be so angry, just like Tanjiro. And then the moment he gets back on his feet, every demon that he fights is like, are you even human? I literally cut you into like 10 different pieces. How are you still standing up? And it's just, I know that people joke around that idea in Demon Slayer a lot, is that like, yo, these are human beings. What do you mean? Like, for example, Shinobu in the new film, spoiler alert for those who haven't watched it. Shinobu in the new film, her lungs were she was gurgling blood from her lungs. Like blood was actively getting into her lungs. Like she is dying by the time that she was fighting Doma. But then like she was still able to fight back. She was still able to stand up and like fight back. And I know that people are like, it's an anime, don't like read into it too much. Like anything could happen in especially anime. But I just like to think that it's such a great example, and it's such a great representation of how much anger could drive you into doing stuff, or anger, motivation, adrenaline that could drive you into do stuff that you never think that you could. Because Shinobu was like literally, like I said, on the verge of dying. She has like this vision of her sister saying that you have to stand up, because you say that you're gonna avenge me, you should do it, you have to do it. And then she gave one last amazing fight before Doma absorbs her, which is such a brutal death, like I said. But it's so admirable, right? It is so admirable that we have a character that we really love, and the fact that they were hurt beyond anything, like the pain was unbearable. Like obviously, like if your lungs got slash in real life, you're dropping dead in like a minute. Like the most is like 30 seconds, I'm guessing. But then you have like I said, regular human beings, the Demon Slayer, but they're still standing up and they're still able to fight because why? They are so motivated by the fact that there is such a clear power imbalance between the demons and the humans. The demons, they regenerate. If you slash their lungs, that thing is gonna heal in like maximum like 10 seconds. So there is in no circumstances are humans ever winning the demons ever. But that doesn't mean that we can't try. It doesn't mean that, the demons are gonna stop killing them, trying to kill them, because of that power imbalance, because of that sort of hierarchy that is so clear in so many movies when, like I said, the antagonist is way too powerful, that it creates this really, really strong feeling of wanting to not be oppressed anymore. Because obviously nobody wants to be oppressed, nobody wants to be controlled or being under a higher power that just like that. It doesn't make sense. It's unfair, right? And this is proven true in our history. Like throughout our history, there are so many civilization, there's so many ethnicity, there's so many races of people that have been heavily oppressed. And one of the very, very general, very, very general commonator is that they all fight back. They all sort of stand up and be like, yo, we had enough and we're going to take back what is rightfully ours, which is so powerful. And I really love to see that represented in modern media, because it's also a really good way to teach, children that, even though that we're humans, we're small, we are also pretty freaking powerful if you think about it. And if, for example, if aliens do invade Earth one day, and you best believe that we're gonna fight and protect it. I know it sounds so corny. I sound so corny and cringy right now. Anyone who's listening to this be like, I don't know about that. Like that sounds kind of crazy. Because we humans are pretty divided by now. We're pretty divided by now. But at the same time, like I do believe that when it comes to protecting what is ours in general, then we are most likely to band together. I would like to think it that way. I want to think positively, but reality is not always as hopeful as I want it to be. I know it was really grim right now, but I said that because all of the media that I've watched always have people banding together, even though, they have a lot of differences. And I know that some people are really would be critical of that. But I just really like to see human connection and how strong that could be on the big screen. So one of the examples I was really, really interested in is Avengers Endgame. And I know that this is such a big piece of media that at least all of us have consumed in one point in our life. But I want to talk particularly about that one of the, well, not the final, but the scene right before the final battle when Captain America just stands there with a broken shield, just covered in dirt and hurts and sort of on the verge of exhaustion, but he still stands up anyway, and he prepares himself to go into battle. And which is kind of crazy because if you look to if you have seen the movie, if you have seen the scene, then Thanos was standing there and his entire army of just undead creatures was behind him, and they have freaking spaceships and just a crazy amount of not people, but crazy amount of things for Captain America to take on himself, but he stands anyway, and he was ready. And that scene alone, that entire, I just keep envisioning that scene. It just first of all, it looks like a painting. Whoever designed, color code, and work on that scene, absolutely amazing. That scene where Captain America stood alone and he was facing about more, I would say more than like 12,000 of Thanos' army. He just stands there. And I think that entire thing was so powerful. And I also saw somebody saying on TikTok the other day that what makes this scene so much more meaningful is that Cap really thought that he was humanity's last hope. He genuinely thought that there was nobody left, and that, the snap that Bruce did not work. He genuinely believed that. And so he stood there with the mindset of, okay, I am the last person standing. Despite, Thor and Iron Man, they've probably, I think at that point they were like unconscious for like a good few minutes, or like they were out of the battle for like a good few minutes. So those seconds of him standing there, his entire mind is just, which is a really good point, by the way, like whoever wrote that on TikTok, he was standing there like, I don't know how long I could last, because like I said, there was like so much undead creatures and a big spaceship. Like, I don't know how he's like, just so many stuff there. And genuinely, if that was the case, that Cap was still Earth's last hope, and he was the last man standing that could face off Thanos and his army, he would have been, obviously, like, he would have been gone. Like, he has the serum and everything, but he's still human. He gets hurt with cuts, and like, it doesn't make him like invincible. He's not he can't regenerate. He can't get reborn instantly or anything like that. He is, if he's dead, then he's dead. So that scene was such, alone with no dialogue needed, was beautiful to me, and it sticks to me throughout all of the years. Because how could a human being, and I know that I say human being very lightly, because we know that, for example, for Tanjiro and both Captain America, both of them are not like, they're still human being, but they're not like normal civilian human being, right? Like, both of them have intense training, they have special abilities, and they're able to fight off very, very powerful enemies. But, as a civilian, I honestly, like, I could not do it. So, but then they're still humans, because there's so much humanity inside of them. And I never questioned it. But now that I look back, I feel like the question to how and why Cap is still able to stand after all that time is the sheer human spirit. And I know that sounds really corny for me to like, because, I've been throwing around the indomitable human spirit. But the human spirit, in my opinion, it consists of, first of all, humanity. You have to have humanity. You have to have hope in humanity. You have to have love for humanity. And the second one is an insane amount of motivation. And I want to say that the motivation is going to be umbrella for a lot of the terms, because what is motivation? I would categorize it in this, in this context of the indomitable human spirit in TV and cinema. I would characterize motivation as having a purpose. So, for example, in Captain America's case, his purpose is to fend off Thanos' army for as long as possible, because he genuinely believes that there is nobody beside him, Iron Man, and Thor that is going to able to stop the army from, invading the Earth and killing, again, like, sort of like eradicating this entire planet, right? For Tanjiro's case, his purpose is to protect, first of all, his friends, that are in the battlefield, and second of all, to survive so that he could kill the demon king, which is, Muzan, so that he can not only avenge his families, but to stop the demon's rampage from killing so much more innocent people and civilians. And that purpose is really important, right? Because without a purpose, and people fight, the protagonist fight the antagonist like for fun, it doesn't make it like as meaningful as a, because it just shows that they just do it for fun. Like, is it just a normal Tuesday for them? But in terms of Tanjiro and Captain America's case, they do it not only because they have to, because if they don't, then everybody else dies. Not only because they have to, is because they also want to. They genuinely want to stand up on their feet and do this, because like, that is so important in terms of motivation. If you don't want to do something, you're not gonna do it, right? And there are so many cases, even in real life, that showcase this really, really well. And one of the case that I've read like really long ago is this one woman. I think a lot of us are already familiar with this story. I'm not sure what her name is, so I do apologize for not gonna be able to be as clear on the details. But the woman that was, I think she was chased or mauled by either a bear or a person. Okay, I feel so bad. But basically, she was on the verge of dying. She quite literally had to hold her head up because her neck was slashed. Had to hold her head up so that it stays attached, so that she doesn't die. And people say that, adrenaline can do so many crazy things. I think that other than that, it's also this sort of instinct to survive. Because as human, what is our instinct? We have fight or flight. If we see a dangerous situation, we flee because we want to survive. We have this instinct of wanting to not die. If we see danger and we've been through danger, we are more likely to have that instinct, and therefore that is what helps us survive, right? And so to see that, like I said, in film, it's so great to see, because it just makes me feel so proud of the fact that as humans, we are kind of terrifying. And I also wanted to talk about Three Body Problem, which is a show that I think I did an episode on like last year or a year ago, and it's a really great sci-fi show. I highly recommend. There's also a trilogy of books. The show is basically an adaptation of those books. I didn't read the books, but the show was really good. I'm patiently waiting for the next few seasons. And basically, it's a very, very logical show when they explain the aliens' sort of powers and everything. The aliens were quite literally, so this is one really great scene where the alien talks to two human researchers, the two main protagonists, and then the alien goes, how long did it take for you guys to create, it started off very simple. How long did it take for you guys to create, like fire, a wheel, whatever? And the two researchers were like, I think 100 years or like 1,000 years, I don't remember. And then as the alien lists the inventions, and all of the inventions that the alien listed were weapons and then nuclear weapon. And the alien was like, and then the time taken between those inventions significantly shortened, right? And the alien was like, you guys took only like a few months or years to create nuclear weapon. So there is no doubt that by the time that we, as in the alien, came to Earth, and in the show context, it's gonna be like, I think, a few years. And then the alien continues, by the time that we are going to be on Earth, there is no doubt that you guys are already able to figure out a weapon that could kill us. That's what makes them so worried about human being is of our science. That's why, like, at the beginning of the show, I'm so sorry, this is spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the show, but I really really want to talk about this. Please watch the show and then come back. Anyways, so in the start of the show, the aliens were killing researchers. They were killing scientists by making them commit suicide. And they do this, like I said, because they are afraid of our technology. They are afraid of our advances, and they're afraid of how far our science can go. Like they said, we are probably going to figure out a weapon or something that could kill them by the time that they reach Earth, which takes a couple of years. Because like our ability to quite literally create atomic bombs, something that could kill an entire like nation of people and leaves the effect for like years after, that's terrifying. And then like it's just so interesting for me to see, and it's such a great way to think about how scary our technology, and because of how fast it's advancing really is. Because not only it's a commentary on how absolutely intelligent we have our scientists are, but that intelligence is what makes us so scary. Because, you know, for example, like right now we have a lot of conversation on AI, and we say that, oh, AI itself is scary, but we're not talking about the people who have developed AI in the first place, because those people were able to create this sort of online mind that wasn't, you know, they didn't, it wasn't born out of nowhere. They had to create it. Somebody had the idea to create something that could think on its own, right? So, and it's all online. And so I would say that that person who started all of this is scary, because that AI is now evolving on itself thanks to its creators. And, you know, we also have a lot of talk about the future and how technology is going to affect the future. I literally just talked about this in my Spanish class, out of all places. Can you believe that? It's really it was really nice to be able to talk about the future in Spanish. But it's the fact that, you know, we are so worried about technologies that we created. And when I say we, I didn't say you and I. Like I don't even know how to clear up storage on my MacBook. Okay, so saying we as like scientists and researchers and developers are putting it very very like hypothetical. But I'm saying as humans, even we are afraid of our own technology. So to see that in another perspective of the aliens in Three Body Problem, I then realized how insane our ability to constantly innovate and create something, because that's the whole point of human being. Like I said, what is it? The first one is that you have to have faith in humanity. The second one is motivation and creation of such weapons such as nuclear power that was created not because there is a purpose. Purpose falls under motivation, and with a purpose, people who worked on this were you can argue that they weren't as motivated because, you know, they low-key were forced to, but because there is a purpose, things get done, right? Like, that's how it is. And there are so many other great examples of this in other shows. I've been watching a lot of apocalyptic films for whatever reason. So I watched Independence Day for the first time, and I also watched The Day After Tomorrow. And both of them is, it's the same thing. You have protagonists that are just human beings that are, smarter than the average me. And they are face to face with a power that is a lot more powerful than they are. So in The Day After Tomorrow, it's quite literally a very extreme climate change where it kills people. Like New York was freezed like overnight with a temperature that could kill people. And then in Independence Day, it was also aliens invasion, but they were able to blow up the alien like spaceship and like everybody lives, which is obviously like it's movies, it's science fiction. People could argue that, or it's just plot. Do you enjoy anything? Like, it's more than that. Like, at least for me, I would like to think that these shows and this media and films are made for a purpose. It's to make us feel that we have a purpose in this life, right? As human beings. And these films are showing us that with enough motivation, with enough sense of purpose, if you want something, you are going to able to achieve it. Because if you really want something, nothing is going to step in your way. And I genuinely believe that. So I just really love seeing that on screen. And yeah, and also like I also wanted to briefly mention Nope. I also saw it for the first time recently. Such an amazing film. I cannot believe how underrated it was. But in the final fight where the protagonist was fighting the alien, and it was so interesting. I just thought about it this morning. It's really interesting to me because that last scene where they used those they're not balloons. I don't know what to call it in English, but those things that you had to put air in it and then they stand up and then wave their hands around, those things. And so they use those things to sort of lure and sort of create a trap for the alien. And that entire scene, for me, obviously that is a commentary on, humans always trying to domesticate wild beasts that are not supposed to be tame, right? I see people domesticate I don't know, like bears for some reason. I saw this one clip on TikTok the other day where this woman has a bear coming up to her doorstep and she was like, sit. And it actually sat. And so I was like, how did you domesticate a whole bear? And it was like a brown bear too. And I was like, whoa, that's so crazy to me. And it's a commentary on that, but also like, what do you mean there's an attempt and we are able to domesticate beings that are a lot stronger than we are? Because what do you mean the protagonist was in a way using his domesticated skills to control this alien? Like, that's so like cool to me. That is so dope to me. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about it for a minute. I'm gonna do a longer episode on Nope soon. It's such a great film. I really enjoyed it. I honestly, like, people need to talk about it more. I feel like it's so underrated, but yeah, and there are so many other media that showcase this, not only films, video games. There's so much of them. Like, I think some people mentioned God of War, but then Kratos, I think he was half, wasn't he half human? I might be crazy. I don't know. I don't remember correctly. But and then like I said, anime, there's so much of them. The Promised Neverland is probably one of not one of my favorite. It's the anime, like, it butchered the manga so bad. But the manga was probably one of my favorite. It was really good, and it's just like a bunch of young kids that are human that are fleeing from, like I said, human, like similar to Demon Slayer, flesh-eating demons. So it was really fun. I highly recommend that one. And Attack on Titans, Humans versus Titan. Yeah. Oh, I just remembered this is really great line said by Tanjiro in Demon Slayer when he in Mugen Train, that he was screaming, he was crying, he was like, this is unfair. You can't. We fight in the night so that it is an advantage for you guys. We are just human beings. And that alone was like so powerful to me. It stuck to me because they were sort of like really favoring the demons by fighting in the night because again they're afraid of the sunlight. So and then obviously like what humans sleep at night. So it's really an advantage for demons, and it puts us in a very weird disadvantage where we would most likely have to humans demon slayers in that world would most likely have to stay awake the entire night, especially if they're doing patrols or they're fighting demons, because it's gonna continue throughout the night, you know? Like it's so crazy to me. I don't know. That line alone was so powerful. But yeah, and also in like TV shows, The Walking Dead, so dope. Love that one. Rick Grimes is a really, really well written character. I think he represents that human spirit really well because, you know, the danger is not only the walkers, there's also other human beings that have lost that sense of humanity in them. But in the end, what makes them sort of still human is that they still have a purpose to survive. But Rick Grimes has both his humanity, his motivation to keep going in this apocalyptic world. And there was a lot of talk during season 1 with I remember this really great talk with between him and Lori in season 1 where Lori is like, how could I bring a child into this world? Like, it's so cruel. Everybody's dying. There's dangers everywhere. I don't want my child to grow up, you know, constantly in danger. And Rick then said that there is, you know, basically saying there's still hope in this world. There is still a chance for them to survive and, you know, hopefully have a place so that, and I don't know, there's just a lot of great showcase of humanity in The Walking Dead. I might need to get refreshed on a lot of the details because it has been a while since I dropped the show. I didn't drop it completely. I'm still debating whether or not I should get back into it because the binge was crazy. I binged, like I said, 5 seasons in like a week or something. The flow was really good. I really, really liked how the story is written. The character was fantastic. And yeah, I would love to get a refresh and do an entire episode long on that. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. And I'm a human spirit. I love glazing humans. I love talking about humanity. It's great. I'm very hopeful. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.